If you create assessments using Schoology, you might want to learn about a feature called item banks. Item banks allow you to create questions within your resources area, and then you can then pull those questions into assessments as you create them. It can be a time saver, and the feature that I'm going to show you today on how to create not only an item bank, but if you do this as part of a group, let's say that you are in a department with a bunch of people and you are in a common group where all of you are admins, you can create an item bank and all of you can create questions and submit them to this item bank, and then you will have access to everybody's questions and be able to pull them into your own assessment. So it's sort of like sharing questions. So the way that you do this is you go over to resources. Now, item banks can be created within your personal resources, which is like your personal storage area. So you can see here in my personal resources, I have a grade 8 assessment section, and this is an item bank that I created with algebra questions. I have another one with decimal questions so that I can pull these questions into a variety of tests. But if you are part of a group and you want to have group access to this or manage an item bank together, what you can do is go to a group that you are part of or create a group. And let's say, for example, I want to put this in my technology department support group. You can see here I have an item bank. Now, the key to this is that everybody in your group, in order for them to be able to add questions to the question bank, do need to have admin access to the course, to the group rather. So you have to make sure that that is available to them. And the way that you can do that is by going over to the group and going over to members. And you can see here the little shield next to everybody means that they have admin access. So you can go back over here, and anybody who does not have admin access, you can give them access to it. So I'm going to go back over to my resources, and I'm going to go over to my groups and into my group that I want to now add an item bank. So the way you do that is you come up to add resources within your group and you go to add item bank. This is not to be confused with add question bank. This is a feature that went along with their test quiz option, which is not something we are using. We are using the more modern assessment feature. So we're going to click add item bank, and you're going to give your item bank a name as to what these questions will pertain to. Algebra grade 8, create. And then once you've created the bank, it's going to pop you over to this screen that looks very similar to when you are actually building an assessment in Schoology. You have all of the question types here, so you can add any question type that you want like you normally would. So I have my sample question here. I'm going to save this. So I'm now adding one question to the Algebra Grade 8 item bank, and you can continue to add questions as is. If you need to edit a question, you can just click on it and you can make any changes to it. So now if I have a whole bunch of questions in here, let's say, and other people in my group have added questions to it, when I go over to my courses, I can now create an assessment and pull over the questions I created or pull the questions over that other people have created and have also added to that bank. So for example, let's just quickly add a little mock assessment. You put in the requirement element, going to enable submissions and click create. And then once you get over to this area where you can again add any setup instructions, when we come over to questions, you can see here in addition to adding questions like you normally would with an assessment, you have the option to add from an item bank. And you will be able to pull from your personal item banks that you may have created, which I pointed out that you could do, or if you are part of a group and you have added a item bank there, I can now pull from my Algebra Grade 8 that I just selected. And again, if there was multiple questions in here, I could check mark. I would have an option to select all, or I could individually check the questions that I want. And then you can assign the point value here if you want, or you can do it back when you get to the assessment. And then you can click add the item. Now, if you want to make a change to this, let's say one of your colleagues added a question, but you wanted to tweak it a little bit, you could make the change here. And once you have added to the assessment, you are actually making a duplicate copy of it. So if you make a change to this question here, it is not going to make a change to the original that is sitting in the item bank. So you can do that without fear of making a change to something that somebody else created. And that's basically it. Some of the features, again, that they're going to be adding on, that they are working on, is the ability to take questions that you have already created in an assessment and push them to an item bank. That's not available quite yet. And another feature they're talking about adding is being able to randomly pull questions from a bank. So if you just, you had a bunch of questions that you've used throughout the year and you were giving sort of like an end of year or midterm exam and you just wanted to pull random questions from an existing assessment, that is something that they're also talking about doing. So this is just a little quick overview as to how to use item banks if you are a part of a group.